Hello and welcome back to another video. This time we're going to talk about supplier selection in medical technology. So you have been there, you have selected a sustainable grade or another medical grade for your medical device. And what you did with that, and maybe you know that or you didn't know that, selecting a plastic grade is simultaneously choosing a supplier. So the manufacturer manufactures the grade, and then you can either buy it from a distributor. The distributor you're not quite married to, but sometimes they have exclusive deals with these manufacturers, so you can only buy that grade from them. And with the manufacturer, it's very straightforward. Only they supply that exact grade, meaning that if you want to change that, it's very difficult. So this grade, in essence, will be in your medical device for life, because change is pain. You know that. Meaning that supplier selection is just like a marriage. I know that analogy may come in strange for you, but it is exactly like that. You're married to your supplier, you're married to your manufacturer of your plastic grade that you have in a medical device. And you must choose accordingly. You must choose wisely. And we're going to tell you later in the video all about what measures you can take in order to prevent this, or what do you do in the worst case. But the point I want to drill home here is divorces are expensive and can be devastating. So you should choose your supplier wisely, and then you should make according risk management measures to prevent this. So, first of all, I'd like to explain my analogy. So, first you have the honeymoon phase, the flirting and the promises. So, you have a new supplier that you're evaluating. They have a very great material. It's sustainable. It's technically suitable and all the good stuff. And then you ask a bunch of questions. You want to get to know each other. And what happens is they make a bunch of promises. They say, yeah, we can do everything. We're the cheapest, the best, technically, and regulatory, most experienced suppliers you have ever had. So that is how that usually goes. And then you, of course, since you're a MedTech company, you want to evaluate and to get serious. So you may be ordering some sample material. You're looking at your documentation and everything looks good. The material also performs well. You make some negotiations, and then it's time to basically settle down and get into a routine. So that is basically the evaluation phase, is basically the R&D, and then you start to get into serious production and you get into somewhat of a routine. And this is where the reality will set in. Here you will see if the supplier relationship really works. Since if you will have stuff that will come up, maybe you have nothing and you've chosen the perfect supplier and everything is run smoothly, and I congratulate you on that. But sometimes there will be friction. For example, they're not able to deliver it on time, or sometimes you need to make a complaint because something was wrong with the material, or they start to discontinuing your material because of reasons, or they have a change, and then you have to do something about the change in your material. You have to evaluate that, and there you really see, like in the reality, in the routine, if your supplier marriage, so to say, really works. And in the worst case, stuff like that can end up in divorce, and that is costly and potentially disastrous for your medical device. So I've laid out the problem now and what could happen, and now I'm going to tell you how to solve that. So how do you prevent divorce? Number one is you choose the right person. You choose the right supplier. So when you evaluate the material, you evaluate the supplier too. So you make a risk assessment with, we're going to look at the technical, the regulatory, and all that for the material. But for the supplier, on top of that, you should look at the following things. Number one, location. Where are they located? And is there some obvious geopolitical risk associated with it? I'm going to name the obvious one. So like if you're located in the Ukraine or in Taiwan or something like that, and they do not have a backup plant anywhere else, that is potentially critical because like if stuff happens, then your supplier is gone. Then you should also look at the production plant. Do they have multiple plants? Is this an old plant? Is this, a supplier audit in an extreme case can make sense to just look at that and see, how is that thing built? Is it built just like right next to the ocean at the Japanese coast where tsunamis regularly hit? Or is it somewhere in the mountains where there could be a landslide or stuff like that? Just think about the obvious one. Would I build my house here? That is a very good heuristic to use. And then you should also look at the company size. It's not only very small companies, but also very big companies can be risky because a very, very small and young company, a startup, can be a risk due to them running out of money. So that really ties in with the next thing, the financial metrics. So are they self-sufficient or are they running on basically investors' money? And that is a very real case that can happen. So startups fail all the time. If you're buying a very innovative material that is from a startup, you should look at that. But on the other side, if you have a very, very big company, big companies go for big fish only sometimes. There are big companies who have a diversification strategy, but sometimes it's like the little fish are not worth frying for them. Meaning that if you are a MedTech company that uses 5-10 tons of material per year, that may not even be worth it for them. And they would discontinue something like that just because it doesn't sell as much. So a big and a small, a very, very big and a very, very small company, they can have a risk. So you should incorporate that in the risk assessment. And then you also have to think about, is my component, how critical is my component? So is it right in touch with the patient? And if that doesn't perform well, I am completely done for. You need to look at that too. Or is it like, yeah, I probably can make it work with like 10 other materials. That is something you should incorporate into that risk management or into this risk assessment. Then, if I think this is a too big of a risk, number one, I can exclude them from the evaluation. So first, I could just say, no, we're not going to take your material because we think it's too much of a risk. That's the obvious one. But if you think, yeah, the material is worth it, and let's take the gamble. If you want the hedge for that gamble, you can evaluate a second source. So anyways, if you're evaluating a material, you should be evaluating 10 to 15 alternatives. And then if you have these 10 to 15 alternatives, at least one or two of them are going to be suitable. So you should at least do one or two alternatives that you have in the back of your pocket that you can pull out in case that the supplier relationship ends up in the divorce. And then you should also have a sound quality agreement with them. It's Captain Obvious, I know, but you should clarify how change management is going to be handled, how the supply security is going to be handled, what measures do they want or can, or what measures can they take to ensure the security of supply, then what level of regulatory support you can expect, and then also very important, what specifications should your material have. And I just want to stress this enough. I cannot stress that enough. If you're working with a recycler, so if the material in question is a recycling material, these points get twice or 3 times as important. So the risk management and the sound quality agreement need to be extra, let's say, effective at doing their job if this is a recycling material. And so you should implement these measures if you're worried about your supplier. And this is where you can do like in development. If you are already like in a relationship that doesn't work out, what you should do is you should start evaluating and qualifying alternatives before you basically end the relationship, because stopping to use a material will end up in you not being able to supply a crucial component of your medical device. Good. So that is it basically. So if you are a MedTech company who wants to design your medical devices for sustainability, you can click the link in the description. And thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope it was valuable for you. If you have any comments or video requests or questions, just leave them in the comments. If you like, comment and subscribe. YouTube will show you more content like this. So this is why you should do it. Also, it helps me, but that's not so important for me. It's important that you get a lot of value from this content. And have a very good one. And thank you for watching.